Greetings and welcome to our second Fireside Chat, GatherVerse Summit 2025. And today I'm very honored to have the one and only Amy joining us today for a Fireside Chat titled Rethinking Education, Preparing Students for Tomorrow's Challenges. Amy, you're a powerhouse. I am not the best person to introduce you. You do it more better, and you have achieved so much, and we want to hear more from you. Please tell us who you are and why you are here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. My name's Amy Edelstein. I'm the founder of Inner Strength Education, which brings mindfulness and systems thinking programs into the high schools in Philadelphia right now, and we're going nationally and international. We're working on pilots right now. The work centers around teaching students how to self-reflect, create purpose, understand large-scale systems to depersonalize their experience, and really cultivate the ability to innovate, cultivating that curiosity mindset, that lifelong learning mindset, reflecting on unanswerable questions. What is consciousness? What's the difference between consciousness and thoughts? Why does it matter? And I'm a lifelong meditation practitioner. I actually started way before you were born in 1978 when I was a high school student at a large impersonal public school where nobody really knew my name. I had found some books, and I ended up spending 4 years in immersive study and then 27 years in an international mindfulness center where I taught and traveled and researched and published worldwide. I'm very interested in the potentials of this moment, the intersection of many of our large-scale systems no longer working and haven't been working for a long time. At the same time as we have this rise of new technologies and large language models. So when things shift this much, it means that there are new possibilities. So we're currently working on a multilingual AI tutor to teach mindfulness and systems thinking, to support our English language learners, and other really fun projects. But the root, of course, goes back to human meaning and purpose.
Wow, it's such an honor to have you once again. And I just want to congratulate you for the impact that you have done with Inner Strength Education. I've watched some of your videos, the testimonials from the students, and it's very, very inspiring. And also the books that you have written. And this brings me down to, you mentioned shifts. And right now we are in a major shift. You have witnessed so many shifts from the time you were born, even before I was there. You have witnessed so many shifts, and I believe this one is just vast and too huge to even absorb. And this brings me to the first question: like, what shifts in teaching methods are needed to meet the demands of the changing world that you are practically using right now?
So I think the essential shift, which is actually a perennial focus, is to really cultivate the minds and hearts of the next generation, to inspire young people to really pursue deeper values, to aspire to be expressions of our highest human potential, to have connection to vocation, that calling and purpose, and care for their impact on those around them. So care for a greater good, whether it's themselves and their families or their communities or the world. It doesn't have to look any one particular way. But right now we have an education model, which America has exported globally, which was really following the rise of industrialization. So we're preparing students to fit into pieces on a conveyor belt. That wasn't very useful then, and it's certainly not very useful now. What
Mhm.
we're looking for in this day and age is people who are wise and compassionate. So
Yeah.
people who have that big vision. And that's the biggest shift in education. We can talk about AI, we can talk about digitization, we can talk about personalized learning through technology. Those are all secondary to focusing on what is uniquely human, which is our ability to reflect on ourselves, our actions, our purpose, and cultivate ourselves.
Yes, that is very, very true when it comes to learning about ourselves. And I think the previous panel talked about that. And, I just have a follow up with the current education system. Do you think the current education system can adapt to this kind of learning? And how does it do that effectively?
Well, that's a big question. How can our current learning environment?
Yeah.
We have many different learning environments, and we're very siloed. So it's tricky to establish norms across learning environments. But what we see is that other forms of learning, social media is a form of learning, whatever we think about how it's being used, but it's a form of learning. So we could be training our large language models on emergent dialogue, wisdom and compassion, self-reflection and self-knowledge, uh, you know, inclusion and equity, an interest in those who are different. We could actually be training as a foundation our large language models to interact with young people in a way that would promote their health and well-being as well as their innovation mindset. So if they're always interacting that way, and those algorithms push that instead of pushing, pre-teenage girls down a negative pathway that makes them worry about their appearance and plant the seeds for many mental health issues, we could do the opposite. And if we did the opposite, that would certainly free up mind space and plant the seeds for teachers to do what they do well, which is mentor and advise and serve as role models with a passion for learning.
That's very profound. And I just want to follow up to that because I feel like this is a very, very intimate topic and it's very close to my heart because I'm a young person as well. And there's so many young people that are watching right now. You have been a very huge advocate of preparing young people like me for the future of tomorrow. And my question is, what role does hands-on learning play in preparing students for the future?
So I think that's one shift that I see a lot in the public schools that I work in inner cities, is there's a shift away from book learning and learning en masse to learning in situ. So internships, real life applications. And what they found, and there's a lot of research to support this since Maria Montessori and on from then, is that when students, as young as 2 years old, feel that they're contributing, they feel that they're of value, then they rise to the occasion. So at home, when you're cooking, have your child do something that is useful to the meal, not in a plastic fake cookware, but for the meal, because it gives them a sense of being a contributor. The age appropriate levels in school, we can do project-based learning, we can do internships and have them at developmentally appropriate levels, working with mixed age groups and working with others so that they feel that they're not getting ready for real time, they're in real time. And when you're in real time, you take yourself seriously, you take your life seriously, you rise up, you don't need to be told to rise up because you feel like you matter. And one of the things we see is a crisis of meaning and younger people feeling like nobody will notice if they're here or not. Nobody cares, really. And we want them to feel that they're coming into a world that doesn't just care about them personally or knows them individually, but cares en masse. And then that will bring out that noble human aspiration to keep stretching.
Yeah, that is very powerful. I really relate to that when you mentioned the analogy of when you have a child in the kitchen, you just don't give them their plastic toys. You give them a role to participate in the cooking, and they will feel part of it, and they would love to contribute to that more, and they will be even be willing to help. And this applies even to the whole education system, where it's not just about the theory side of it, but also putting the learners to the practical world, and they can feel that they are part of it. That is very, very interesting. I found that very, very, it sank in me. It really did sink well with me. And just to ask another question, you have had a very big experience. You have over 20 years of being in the learning industry. And what advice would you give educators balancing traditional systems and the current innovation? What's your advice for them?
I think the role of a teacher is to mentor. And we can all remember that one teacher who touched us. They saw us, they gave us a little bit of encouragement. And maybe you have to go all the way back to grade school. Mine, it was my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. McVeigh, and I still remember her. And I became a writer because of her, because she saw how much I loved it, how much of a passion I had for it. And that kind of human encouragement and mentorship is so important, and it can give children that sense that they're worth something. Then innovation is there. Innovation is there for, I think we can do amazing things with personalized learning, especially using large language models to create culturally appropriate context. So children from different cultural backgrounds and different languages can relate to the math problems and the science problems, that we can really revise and innovate so that they're learning the same math or science, but they're learning it in ways that are meaningful to them. And so it'll stick. So I think we can do things like that. I think AI can really lift a tedious burden off of teachers so that they're able to be present. So I think what one of the opportunities we have right now is to value teachers even more than we ever did before, because there's no replacement for that person who sees you and cares. And if we can free up a lot of the busy work of grading papers and tracking progress and see charts and graphs instead of doing it by hand, that of course is what our teachers need. They need their time for the little human beings in front of them who just want to be, they want somebody to share their passion and their love. They want somebody to look at their project and meet them in that curiosity. And then that's what plants those seeds for future unimaginable creativity. We can't predict what problems or what potential solutions the young people of today are going to experience tomorrow. You know, the 14-year-olds of today, in 10 years, we can, you know, when they're 24, right out of college, or maybe they just went to trade school or went straight into work, we have no idea what's going to be on their plate. We didn't imagine, you know, some people did who were in the know, but I personally didn't imagine ChatGPT 10 years ago.
Yes.
So let's prepare them in the ways that we can so that they have the confidence to explore and experiment and see an unimaginable path forward. That's what we need. We need to teach them systems thinking. We need to teach them how to deal with complexity in a simple way. We need to teach them about awareness. I think contemplative practice, some form of mindfulness-based contemplation is essential so that they really learn to use themselves as a tool of discovery.
Yeah.
And if we do that, then, you know, it's an X factor. We're empowering, you know, something that we can't predict in a good way, because we're supporting wholesome values along the way.
Wow.
We're supporting respect, meaning, purpose.
Yeah. And Thank you to all the teachers who are watching. We have a very good education community around GatherVerse. And thank you for even highlighting the importance of educators. We value educators out here, the people who are watching. I also want to shout out to my teacher who saw me too. Her name was Mrs. Morgan. She saw me too. And I really resonated with that. I'm also curious. You have been teaching students how to innovate. I have seen some of the testimonials of students who you have taught. Um, we have an upcoming youth summit, and we will have youths there. And one of the things we're going to talk about is innovation. But I want to just find out from you, how do these young people cultivate the mindset of innovation in a place where AI is almost telling us what to do, or where people are depending on AI to tell them what to do? What is the place of thinking? What is the place of the human mind to innovate itself? How do you tackle that?
So I mean, some of the practices that I do with students are self-reflective practices. So today in class, we did mindful walking. So I had them to really question, so what's the role of gravity? What's the role of the structure of the human spine to hold you upright? How can you penetrate your personal experience of walking slowly across the room and question those things that you never really thought about? And what does that teach you about evolution, about human structure, about gravity, about physics? And then I challenge them to think, well, what if that piece of ground where you were stepping was calling you to step there? Instead of you placing, I'm going to walk there, I'm going to put my foot there. Imagine, just thought experiment. What if that piece of ground were calling you to be there? How does that change your balance, your relationship to the ground, your relationship to the people around you, all of those things? So I had them to just explore their experience in a very flesh and blood way. And then you can extrapolate to all these more complicated systems. What does that mean about biology, about evolution, about gravity, about physics, about anatomy, all these, and then about consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Who has consciousness? Do people only have consciousness? Does wood have consciousness? You just plant those seeds, and that gets them to start thinking. So there's no digital device involved. I'm not a Luddite. I'm fine with digital technology. I am concerned about what you said, that people will become lazy because they're not activated by that passion for learning. And teachers are too busy to activate that passion because teachers haven't figured out how to use AI to free up time. So I think what we, as parents, teachers, adults, aunties, uncles, mentors, neighbors, big brothers, big sisters, is wherever, whatever you're doing, ask those younger people questions about their experience.
I
Just
agree on that.
train through dialogue that sense that, oh, I'm not just walking. This could
Yes.
teach me about the evolution of the human form. Who
Yeah.
thought?
Right. And I mean, we could have spent so much time with you. There's so much to learn from you, but time is not our side. We have another panel coming up. We're really grateful for the wonderful time we spent with you, and we look forward to have you back here at GatherVerse. And for us, this is a bye. Over to you, GatherVerse team. Thank you so much, Ami. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.